Can three disparate teams get together and decide a plan of action for hunting aliens, Bigfoot, and Dogman? Can they agree on just the simplest things, like even a location and a time? Well, tonight we're going to find that out on Encounters USA. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, welcome to Encounters USA. If it's aliens, UFOs, Bigfoot, or Dogman you're looking for, you came to the right place. Now listen up as we listen to some of the latest encounters. Hello everybody and welcome to Encounters USA. I'm your host, author Matthew Hines. Now tonight we are starting what seems to be and portends to be a revolutionary approach to looking for aliens, Bigfoot, and Dogman. Standing by, I have the head of the North American Dogman Project, Joedy Cook. I also have standing by Lee Strauss of the UFO iTeam. Now we are actually waiting for our third member who represents our Bigfoot contingent, Mr. Todd Neiss. I keep getting that wrong. Todd Neiss, but he is not here yet, and hopefully he is going to join the call while we're in action. So right now, I just want to introduce you to Joedy Cook. Hello, Joedy Cook.
How you doing?
Oh, great. And it's so great that you took the time out and are even considering this project. And also standing by, I have Lee Strauss of the UFO iTeam. Lee, welcome to Encounters USA.
Well, thank you.
Now, Lee, I'm just very quickly, you've gone a little bit out of focus. I don't know if there's anything we can do to take care of that, but I just wanted to let you know we want to see that handsome punam of yours, as they say in the in some circles. So, and now we've lost you completely. So, are you still there, Lee?
Yes,
there you are.
Here.
Oh, you're bouncing around. All right. So, as I said, we're still waiting for our third member of our contingent here, and while we wait for him, we're going to just go ahead and plow through what this is all about. And the first thing that we need to talk about is technology. And I know a lot about Lee and what he's going to bring to the table, but I don't know that much about the North American Dogman Project. So, and this is kind of a way for you guys to introduce yourselves to each other and to explain what it is you've got, what it is you're packing. So, Lee, or actually, I'm going to start off with Joedy. Could you just introduce yourself to Lee and tell him a little bit about what you do, how you do it, and maybe a little bit about who you do it with?
I'm the founder of the North American Dogman Project. We went officially, on the web in 2016. We're the largest Dogman research organization on planet Earth. Basically, we have 800 members worldwide. We have chapters in every single continent on the United States. We have chapters here in the United States. We have three special teams. We have a special response team, a special investigation team, and a canine tracking team. Right now, we've got a couple affiliates from MUFON that's actually working with us. We do work close with a lot of members of MUFON. We have quite a few, like I said, members throughout the United States. We get constant stuff coming in every single day to our organization. We're probably right now literally about 3 weeks behind just putting reports on our website.
Wow.
And we had a hard time because, Google gave us a hard time and basically made us go to a completely different format. And they actually made our web host, actually, make its changes. So they kind of give us a hard time, with it. We can tell who's monitoring our site. We know that a lot of federal government agencies are monitoring our site. We know that the Department of Agriculture's been monitoring our site. We know just about every single state DNR has. I mean, even the DEA, has monitored our site. And actually, they actually contacted us after we found out they were on our site, because they had a team in the field and training that actually came across a group of them. Wow. We get a lot of reports of, the dogman sightings from military and police.
Okay. Well, Joedy, I'm gonna stop you right there. Now, are you getting a lot of reports from Washington State, or my question is, are you getting any reports from Washington State?
Oh yeah, we are. We've got about 5 or 6 of them right now. Okay. That came from Washington State.
Okay. So now I'm sorry. I've been in the field with Lee, but I've never actually been out with your organization. So I know Lee brings a lot of technology out to the field. Can you give us a little lowdown on what on any potential project you guys could put out in the field if we were to continue on with this?
Well, normally what we'll do if we're out in the field in a designated area, we'll set a DVR system up where we'll set about 3 or 4 different cameras up and a couple of different areas, so we're able to pick up anything at a live feed. We have trail cams in which we set up. We set bait traps up. We have our thermal imaging. We have our night vision that we take out to the field. We have listening posts. Actually, what we'll do, we'll put 1 or 2 people in different parts of the field, maybe between the cameras, our DVR system, and just basic as a listening post to see if they see anything. They'll have their flares with them, or if they hear anything, and they'll contact us at the base station. So that's the best way that we do it. Lee being a ufologist, us being cryptozoologists, some of the equipment that we use is basically the same. Yes, but there's a lot of it that's not, because it depends on what type of research you're doing for what particular entity, and depends on what type of equipment you use.
Right.
Yes.
So can we let Lee introduce himself to you and explain just a little bit about what the iTeam is bringing into it?
Well, we bring a lot of the same gear you mentioned. Of course, we do have some other stuff that maybe you don't have, and that's pretty much like your Tesla meter and your Geiger counter and a lot of that sort of technology we also carry. We do have trail cams and the FLIR, of course. We have FLIR technology or cameras as well, and a lot of different types of video cameras, full spectrum cameras and that sort of thing also that we bring to the table. Lots of night vision, full color night vision, as well as Gen 3 plus stuff. So we have a lot of that same technology you do.
All right, and I'm just going to speak for what I know about the American Primate Conservancy. I saw their setup at the Sasquatch Summit, and they have a pretty similar setup to what I've seen of the UFO iTeam, Lee. They're pretty well set up. They've got some pretty sophisticated equipment. So now that we've had a little bit of a chance to listen to what you guys have, what you're going to bring out into the field. People who have watched this podcast are familiar with Joedy. They're familiar with Lee. And so I think that what I'd like to do right now is just kind of put a bigger picture of what we're trying to do here. And to do that, in order to undertake any investigation, you have to know what you're looking for. And so I've just written out a couple of objectives that I think that we should at least try to agree on, that this is what we're doing and this is what we're all about. And so the first thing that I think we should be looking for is to set up and maintain electronic and human surveillance of a designated area known for UFO, Bigfoot, or Dogman activity, and do that for a number of days. So that's really what we're all about here. The next thing that we want to look at is it possible to acquire electronic and physical evidence of alien, Bigfoot, or Dogman activity or any paranormal activity within a designated area over a allotted period of time? So that's the second objective we're looking at and why we're doing this. The third thing that we want to do when our investigation is we want to acquire physical evidence of aliens, Bigfoot, or Dogman through foot patrols, like you talked about, Joedy. You guys are already doing them. So, of the area conducted in regular intervals. And finally, the last objective is to disseminate the acquired information to the members of our respective groups or media when agreed, when necessary or required. So basically what we want to do is go out in the field for a few days and see what we can get. And the whole idea that I had when I first went out with the UFO iTeam is because I work with Dogman people and Bigfoot people, is why not do a joint project? All this hardware, we could seal off an entire, Joedy, we could seal off a grid square, right? Mm-hmm. And if there's anything in there hiding, we're probably going to find it. So, and at the same time, the UFO iTeam, they have lots of FLIR stuff, and they can be searching the woods and the skies. So that's the whole idea. That's the whole premise behind this. And the question is, though, is can it actually be done? So the next thing that I would like to talk about, and I really miss the fact that Todd isn't here because he really has a lot to contribute as far as areas that can be researched out here for Bigfoot. I've come up with 3 areas, and I've sent you guys pictures. And Joedy, part of the elements of patrolling are planning reconnaissance, security, and control. And the thing that we want to be very careful of throughout this operation is security, because we want to go out and do our thing, and we don't want to have a circus out there. As Clint Eastwood said in Kelly's Heroes, we don't want any friends or friends of friends out there. We just want the teams out there doing their thing, and we don't want a big circus. So we're really trying to keep this stuff as where we're going to be operating as quiet as possible. So I have picked out 3 areas just because it's my not that it means anything, but it's my podcast, and so I figured I'm going to throw 3 areas at you. And just to give an example of what we're kind of looking for areas that we might want to research. Now, I'm going to give you 3, kind of a litmus test, and if you want to add to these 4 elements, please do so. The first thing we should look for is known activity of aliens, Bigfoot, or Dogman. We should try to find an area that's had both. And so when I'm showing you what I've brought, these 3 these areas have all had at least alien and Bigfoot activity. The second is accessibility. We need to be able to actually reach the area, and not only reach the area, but reach it from disparate routes. We need to be able to hike in and or walk in if it's at all possible or necessary. The third thing that I'm looking for, and again, you guys can change this if you want, but we want coverage of an area from the highest elevation to the valley. And so I picked certain areas where that can be possible. And then the last thing that I'm looking at is the ease of providing support, safety, and rescue if that becomes necessary. So those are the criteria that I have have applied to this. And so in doing so, I have I've sent to you guys three Google Earth maps, and they're secret. If you're listening or watching on YouTube, you won't know what these areas are. We've just designated them Area A, Area B, and Area C, or Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie if you're into the military thing. So the first area, can you guys look at that? And I'm looking at the fact that it meets... number one, it's a known Bigfoot area, and I know that sometimes the iTeam uses it for an area as well. So it's got UFO activity. And I don't know, Joedy, if there's been any Dogman activity in that area, but there probably there may have been. And so and then the other thing is the coverage from, as you're looking at that map, you can access on the north side of the lake. There's a road that you can drive pretty far, all the way to the end. On the other side of that valley, of that area, there's a trail. And so you can actually send a team walking, and so you can the teams on each side of that area will be able to cover the opposite side. Mm. And on the south side, it rises up to a pretty high ridge. So the people on the north side could, with FLIRs and whatever else, would be able to cover that. Now, the other thing about that particular area is that because
there's a problem.
What is that?
With the FLIR, you're not going to be able to reach anything that's over, a quarter of a mile. The problem is the pixelation. When you get that far away, the pixels get to a point where you're not going to sense heat because they're too big within the camera. You're only sensing at like 320 by 180 or something like that. I can't remember the actual ratio, but that's the issue with going farther away with a FLIR camera.
All right. Well, then I get to pull out my ace in the hole, and that's my boat. You remember my paddle ski, right, Lee? Well, we can... Sir. With that, because it is a water feature, we can all night long. We can it's got an electric motor, and we can patrol the shores. And if anything's coming down to that water line at night, we're going to see it. So that has the added, that particular place has that added bonus that we can patrol that in a watercraft. So, Joedy, do you have any input into what you think?
Well, give me an idea. These are areas that we've had Dogman sightings. Okay, Evan Creek Trail. I don't know if you're familiar with any of that area. Mount Rainier National Park. We've had sightings there. Olympia National Park and National Forest. Okanagan National Forest. We've had sightings there. And forgive me if I pronounced the county wrong, but it's Snohomish. Snohomish?
Yeah, Snohomish.
Yeah, Snohomish County. Those are the areas that we've had sightings. I don't know if that's any of the close to the areas that you designated.
Well, okay, then that's okay, because that's what we're looking at. If there hasn't been Dogman sightings, then what's the point? Let's take a look at your.
What we have to do, we have to look at an area. We have to. Okay, I'm doing an exercise like this, or an investigation. There's a lot of logistics that's involved. Okay, and it's going to take time to get the logistics out. So what we have to designate is for the three of us, well, including yourself, to figure out what areas we've had Dogman sightings, areas that we have Bigfoot sightings, and areas that we have extraterrestrial sightings. Right. Okay, or UFOs. Okay. Now, the good thing about this is that in the Bigfoot field, ufology field, and the Dogman field, we've all had, they're all related. because Bigfoot sightings have dealt with UFOs. We have had plenty of Dogman sightings that were UFO related. Actually, the ones that are actually UFO related all came from military, people, and most of them were overseas, like in Afghanistan and Iraq, and in some South American countries. But we also have had it here in the States. So that's the good thing, is that all three of us, we've had related to that area. So what we have to do is find out, do a grid search of an area in the state of Washington, even though if it's within a 50-mile radius. Okay, we've had their Dogman sightings, UFO sightings, and Bigfoot sightings within that radius there. Then that gives us an idea of where we can have it. That's the only way we're going to accomplish this. We have to make sure within, like I said, 50 miles or 100 miles, where were these sightings located, and then we can go with our grid search in from there.
Right.
Because one thing, and Lee will tell you this too, UFOs just don't go to one area and leave. They'll come back, because they were there for a reason. Same thing with Dogman, Same thing with Bigfoot. They were there for a reason, and they'll come back. So that's what we have to look at.
Okay. Yeah, and we have to have something for everybody to do. And so that's what we're trying to decide here is, so the area A, or Alpha, if you're into the military thing, although it is a pretty good area, it doesn't have that history of the Dogman sightings, correct?
Well, like I said, I'm not...
as far as we know.
Well, no, it's just like say these particular, the areas that you got, A, B, and C. I don't know if they're corresponding to the areas where these sightings are, because I don't know exactly where those three areas are, because it doesn't say where they are. Okay, it gives
one of the reasons for this, even doing this, is
because of the show. Yeah, and I understand that, but that's something we can go over after the show. Find out, say, area A is in this particular area, area B is in this area, and then we can correspond between the three of us, Dogman sighting, UFO sighting, Bigfoot sighting.
Yep.
And like I said, we're going to have to expand it out from 50 to 100 miles.
Yeah.
In order to, and we may not even have to. We could be within, all three of us can be within a mile of sightings.
Yeah, well, it's really gonna depend on the area, and the first thing that we have to accept here is this is all we're learning. So I don't think anybody really. I don't claim to know anything that's going on. I'm just throwing stuff out there because it's at least a place where we can start from. But definitely, you're right. We've got to find a place that has Dogman sightings. So that's something we need to research more. No question about it.
But look at this. Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I mean this is something you need to look at too. When you may have a Dogman, or not Dogman, but a Bigfoot sighting, along with a UFO sighting in that area. Now I've been doing this for 30 years. Okay, and I would go back to when I was doing Bigfoot research in the 80s, and I was going back looking at all my old reports, and some of these reports had. The Bigfoot had a long, pointed ears. It had a snout. It had backward style legs. But at the time, Dogman sightings weren't that normal. So what, you gave what your report was, what you saw. So you go back and look at these Bigfoot sightings were most likely Dogman sightings. And we have to look at it that way too. Right. Just because there's no Dogman sightings in the area doesn't mean that there's not none there, that a Bigfoot sighting could have easily been mistaken that it was a Dogman, not so much a Bigfoot. So we have to take that in consideration also.
Yeah. If you look at map B, that's an area where the iTeam, another area actually I should say, where they do a lot of their research.
Right.
And so without knowing what the level of Dogman activity is, I will bet you, not very much, but I will bet you there's been Dogman activity there. And on the C sighting, the C area is just in the next county over. So these are all these are all likely spots that we could research. And as we've learned right now, is we've got to find more. We've got to find areas with dogman activity. So that kind of hinders what we're doing right now. But what are we looking for? What are you guys looking for? Lee's been very quiet, so I'll start with him. What are we looking for as far as natural terrain? What's ideal for you?
Well, let me just start by saying that, you know, the UFO iTeam just doesn't look for UFOs, even though it's the moniker in our name. We're also researching or trying to research Bigfoot. And I'm very excited to also, you know, use our equipment to look for other, you know, other anomalies out there. It's, you know, that's what we're about. And so it's not just UFOs. So that's what I want to bring to this team.
Okay. So you'll have no problem helping people look for Bigfoot or Dogman as well.
Yeah. I mean, we need to figure out, you know, start from somewhere. It doesn't matter necessarily where we start from, but there's a larger picture here, and to not investigate these other phenomenon would be a disservice.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. So, all right. Well, let's just cover a couple of things here, because as I said, I really was flustered that Todd wasn't here. And it kind of took a little while to get this thing going. And I've never done the Skype conference call before, so I just want to make sure that we are covering the things that we need to cover. And so going back to what kind of terrain are you going to be looking for? What do you need to do your jobs? Because obviously we don't have a place selected yet. So what do you need to do what you do?
Yeah.
Well, Lee, you can start.
I don't mind going out from a central hub.
Okay.
I think that's what we need to. We need to find a place where we can set up, you know, a central location and then fan out from that one location.
Okay. And so area A that we had, that would, I mean, as an example, that would be okay, because you could have a central hub. Area B is not so centrally located, because on Area B, I've actually got both of the places that you guys research. So that wouldn't be a central location, although the southern part of it could be, because that's ideally set up for people to hang out and come in and out. All right, so where are we? Actually, no. I need to ask Joedy. What does the Dogman team need to look for a Dogman?
Well, the main thing that we're out there, we're looking for tracks. That's the main thing. We're looking for markings on trees. You know, when it comes to Dogman, it's a little bit different from Bigfoot, because Bigfoot researchers, they look for tree markings. They look for stick markings, stone markings, things like that. Something that where this entity will, you know, mark his territory. Okay, Dogman is a little bit different. What we've been finding out is we're finding scratch marks on trees. We're finding bite marks in trees. We're looking for hair for when it's moving through the brush. Tracks. That is about the main thing right now. Now with our canine unit, obviously, you know, the only thing we have to use for like a scent for the dogs is that we have wolf hair that we get from one of the local wolf sanctuaries, because these things are obviously they're part wolf or full wolf, so that's what we use as a scent guide for the dogs. Because even in tracks, not all the time it's going to leave a scent in the track. You know, so like I said, a lot of this stuff is very different on how each of us look for evidence and look for, you know, markings for what we're looking for. Mm-hmm. It's all completely different, because each of these entities that we study all operate different.
Okay.
So,
are the Dogmen in the higher elevations? Do they change, or do we really know? I mean, where will you guys? Do you need a valley to look in, or do you want to? Because we got some pretty high mountains out here as well.
Well, no, because it doesn't make a difference. Because I mean, you take Shenango Valley in Pennsylvania. Those are within the hills and the mountains there, so it basically doesn't matter. The thing that we look at when it comes to an apex predator, okay, you have to look at the area. What is the food source in the area? Is the food source abundant for that thing to stay there? Water, okay. The environment, is the environment stable for something like that to stay there? So if you have all three of those, it's going to be within the area, because most predators don't leave an area where the food source and the water source is good. It will stay. The only time predators leave, if the food source is gone, the water's gone, or there is some type, change into that environment. So that's what you have to look at. The same thing with, Bigfoot. It may apply to, to Bigfoot. A lot of researchers believe that these things, they don't stay in one area, they roam, which probably they do. Predators normally stay within, 100 miles of the area. Same thing with humans. Humans do the same thing. We all live, within an hour of where we grew up. Yeah. The only time we leave, is, like I said, either the environment changed, our job, or marriage or something like that. But other than that, we all stay within, 100 miles or 10 miles rather of where we were born. Right. So it would be the same thing with them.
Okay. When you talk about the Dogman sightings, a lot of those happen to be in urban areas, correct?
Oh yeah. So we have some that's in residential areas.
Yeah, and you have to wonder if they're scavenging. So when we're looking for our area, Todd, are you still? Lee, are you still with us? When we're looking for our area, Bigfoot doesn't generally hang out in we're in residential areas unless the residential area caught up to where they live. But we could probably, if we can't decide that there is a place like in your Snohomish sighting, I think that was the one that Ewan and I went out on. Out by Monroe, that it's too heavily populated to do any research. There's too much light in the sky for the UFO iTeam and whatever. So one thing I think we may need to look at is just looking for the area where they can survive, where what you say, they have abundant game, water, the things they need to survive, and look for Bigfoot and UFOs at the same place. But that's something that, we're learning, and we need to decide, down the road, I guess. But right now we need to do some more research into a good, legitimate Dogman sighting in Washington State, and then maybe try to focus on that. In absence of that, we may have to try a plan B. All right. So
one thing we can do too, okay, is you can provide us with a map of the state of Washington. Lee can mark on the map and say the color red, the red dot where he has had his sightings. I can mark on the map in blue where we had Dogman sightings. And I forgot his name too.
Todd, yeah.
Todd can mark and say green where there are Bigfoot sightings. So that way we have a map and we can determine, okay, this is where all the signs are, and see if anything coincides with each other. That would be the best thing. That's the best way we should start, starting to look for an area, is for all of us to designate areas where we have had reports and sightings.
Okay. And I think, that sounds great. So I'm agreed on that, and wherever the intersection point is. Because that should meet all of our prerequisite requirements. The next thing that I want to talk to you guys about is what's the time that you guys would be willing or you think would be ideal to commit to something like this. And before we start, would you like to do a pre-operation kind of thing, maybe do a weekend exercise where we just go out and test it out? or should we just jump into it?
I think we should do like a weekend exercise. I would, if I had a timeline for this, I would be looking at probably, June, July.
Exactly.
And the reason why I say that far out because there's a lot of planning that needs to be taken in because, we have to look at, if the equipment for documentation, cataloging, whatever evidence that we find, we have to get all that stuff together. All teams, they're going to have to get together and, talk about what equipment we're going to bring so we're not overlapping a lot of equipment. Just, how we're going to engage it. So there's a lot of planning. My thing with my organization is safety before research. That's the thing. Safety comes first, and we have to sit there and make sure that that's going to be the number one priority. We're going to have someone, a medic in the field with us. We're going to be in an area where, there's going to be predators, there's going to be spiders, there's going to be snakes, things that could, cause a problem. People are careless, and we're going to have somebody, out there, like I said, a medic or something like that, someone who's qualified, for safety. And like I said, if we're not going to, be the ones that are, document anything, are we going to need a film team to document everything, catalog stuff, things like that. There's a lot of planning, man. I mean, a lot of planning going on in this. When we did LBL, we did, 5 months planning, just for LBL.
Yeah, and the one thing that I want to avoid, though, is I don't want to overplan, but there are things that we do have to take into consideration. If we're on public land, do we need permits? We have to make sure the local authorities, I don't know what their interest is going to be in this, et cetera, et cetera. If they're watching your website, whatever, then they're definitely going to be interested. So
the thing is, if you're going to be in an area like a state park or a federal park, okay, it's good. It's a good idea to let them know that we're there. Mm-hmm. They don't have to know what we're there for, but let them know. We're going to have to let somebody know exactly where we are for, safety reasons.
Yeah.
But we need to, you need to, find out if it's a federal park or even a national park, or if it's private property. Do we have to have some type of permit? A lot of times, law enforcement stuff, they're not going to sit there and be asinine about it, but you're going to, you may run into one that, may have an issue with us being on some property without, especially filming. Mm-hmm. We had to get permission just to film down in LBL, and that's, that's a, federal park, but we had to have permission just to film there.
Yeah. I don't, one thing that I've heard people talking about that, and maybe it's not you, but it's these other Bigfoot groups, but I have seen them run into problems because they're bringing in a lot of people, and obviously making money. And it really looks like the people in the parks are saying, well, if you're making money, why aren't we making money? So I want to avoid all that. To have smaller teams, I think would be ideal. Do you know, Joedy, how many people you potentially could put out in the field?
For this particular operation, or just any operation?
For this, for something like this.
For this one, obviously you have myself, you have Lee, you had Todd, yourself, so that's 4. So I would definitely want to bring one of my team members. Lee's going to need to bring 1 or 2 of his. Same thing with Todd. I would keep it under, 10 people, for this operation. Okay. Because you're going to have some that's going to be stay in the base camp, and then you're going to have the rest of us that's going to be actually out in the field.
Right. And I think basically the people that are coming, except we are going to have people that are going to do roving patrols. Right. But I think we have enough technology. You don't need a lot of people. You just have to have people to man the cameras and the recorders and stuff. So that
depends if you have 2 different sites. If you have you have point site A and you have site B. we could also do something, to that effect, and say Site B is just basically a listening post, for observing to contact back to, Camp A.
Yeah, well, Joedy, I'm looking at Site A, B, C, and D. I want whatever we're. I mean, why waste time? Let's seal off something and make sure nothing can move in it without us knowing about it. Because that's the approach to take, and that's why we're involving 3 different teams. So I think there should be 4 teams, and we seal off whatever it is that we're going to be looking at. So, what do you think, Lee?
Yeah, I think you're right. Definitely at least 2 teams set up. As like I was saying, I'm not really searching for UFOs in this endeavor. I'd use my equipment to either, search for Bigfoot or Dogman. I'm not going to be training my cameras into the sky for something like this. I might have a couple of stationary doing some time lapse, but other than that would be it.
Okay. Well, we might have to talk a little bit about that because, part of the Bigfoot question is Bigfoot associated with UFOs? So if we got the activity from one and we didn't record the activity from the other, then we might be kicking ourselves later on, but we can discuss that, sure. I've got Todd is on, he's on, but I would have to stop I'd have to stop this and restart it again, and I think we've been going almost an hour, so I think we're going to have to pick him up the next time. So what we've decided right now, and I probably just popped my mic, what we decided right now is that we need to do more research into finding an intersection of Dogman, aliens, and Bigfoot contact in Washington State. We decided that. We decided that. I think we decided Area A. We don't like that because that's of that reason. Area B, not sure about, but I really think that Area B was probably going to end up being. It probably is going to be one of our areas just because of the history that it has, and I think it's going to end up meeting all of our requirements. So if it does end up being Area B, somebody needs to contact the people there and tell them what we're about, because I can't seem to do so. All right. What else have we decided? We've decided that, Joedy, you're talking about maybe doing a pre-operation thing, maybe a weekend deal. Can you guys put somebody out to do that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've got Ian out in that area. And so forth. So he'll be the one that would go out there and do that with you guys. Okay. And so we need him to eventually be involved in these planning sessions. Lee, how do you feel about that? The weekend warrior thing is going to.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
I'm definitely down for that.
Okay.
Any time. I've got plenty of vacation time. I can do whatever.
Okay. All right.
Let me ask Lee a question. I did UFO research for a long time before I did the Bigfoot stuff. Correct?
I think, are we hearing each other?
Close to water?
Joedy, I just lost Lee, I think. Did you lose me?
The one sighting I had out by my house, yes, was out. I'm catching them around Baker, Mount Adams. Yeah, and that's a prevalent area too for Dogman, and both Bigfoot sightings have been around volcano areas. Just not necessarily that's in Washington State, but we've had reports in Oregon, close to the ones there. Okay.
So, but I'm talking about is like the water, because like I said, I know one or two of these sightings we had were close to water sources out on the west side of the state, northwest side of the state, and that's why I was just asking, because that would be a good spot to look at too. With it where the water is, a lot of these Bigfoot sightings close to water, Dogman close to water, and even extraterrestrial, because there's a lot of belief within ufology that 70 or 80% of most UFO sightings take place over water. I don't know how true that is, but it's just it's these things that I've read. So that might be an option there to look at there too.
Well, Joedy, we can't do that because that is the area of the Olympic project, and that's specifically their research area. And
I understand that, but I know those guys, I respect them, but with all due respect, they don't own it.
Okay.
I mean,
well,
unless you want to get them involved or something, but I do respect not going into someone else's area, but there's not an issue if we ask them if we have to go in that area. Do they have a problem with us being there?
Well, it's consideration, and I think if we found a Dogman sighting or something that was credible enough, I just don't want to go to them unless I have a good reason to do it. And I not that they're not the kind of people that say, "Oh, you can't come here." It's just that
they're a good group of people.
Issue of respect, and if we had a good reason to do it, sure, I'd do it. But right now, I haven't even looked at that area, although it is almost perfect in a lot of respects. Anyway, but if we can find something, I would go to them and say, look, we're going to do this and we want you guys along. And if you don't want to be part of it, and I've actually mentioned this to them and I've gotten no response. And I think it's just because they want to do their own thing. And the one thing I don't want, Joedy, and Lee, you also know the communities that, if you make somebody angry, that follows you around for a long time. So I don't want any part of that, because I'm just trying to keep everybody happy and trying to find the answers to these things. So, but if we can find something out there, sure, we'll head on out to Lake Ozette or something. All right, so we've decided we're going to do a mini exercise. Joedy, we'll need to get in touch with your guy. And I imagine that the I'll just tell you a good date I would think about right now is the first week of June, because it tends to be a good week. The kids are in school and it tends to be sunny. And then after that, it rains until July.
Yeah.
So in Washington, that's how it is. And if you guys have any other ideas, but that might be a good time for the first one, and then do the next one later on in the summer or something.
Exactly.
So all right. So it sounds like I've got Todd is trying to get on here, but I cannot get him into the meeting. So I'm sorry. I think I'm just going to have to wait until the next time around to get him on. But I think we've covered a lot of good stuff. The next time we meet, if we do decide to meet again, we'll have Todd on, and he has more input from like Oregon and stuff, which we haven't even talked about, and a lot of his sightings were down there. So for what we have now, if we were going to talk about the next meeting, we need to find out an area.
Can I say something for a minute?
Yeah.
While you're talking, my computer's getting ready to die. I just got to look for my charger real quick. Okay. Plug in. So just go ahead and keep talking.
Okay. We are going to figure out where the intersection of the Dogman alien activities are, and we're going to find out what Todd is going to bring to the table as far as his equipment goes. And right now, because he hasn't said anything, we can't really make any final decisions. Lee, do you have any concerns, things that you would like to have happen with this?
No, I've had my own so-called Bigfoot experiences, just growing up in hiking the Pacific Northwest for as many years. I also have, I was part of ESAR, Everett Search and Rescue, for a number of years as well. So I've done grid searches for evidence and other stuff like that. So I've got quite a varied background, which might really help in this endeavor. It's exciting to be part of it. I'll tell you that. I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay. Yeah, I wish you could have met Todd. I know he's going to be upset. He's sitting there chomping at the bit. I just don't have any way to get him in. It was hard enough getting you in here, Lee. So we're just going to have to wait till the next time on that. But Joedy, thank you for taking the time to do this. Thanks for considering it. And I want to know, what are you guys' gut feelings about this? I'll start with you, Joedy. Is this something that you think is worthwhile?
I think it definitely is something worthwhile. I think it's something that definitely needs to be done, because nothing like this has ever been done, where you have, three, complete different organizations working together for a common goal. I think it's neat. Yeah. I really do.
Yeah. How about you, Lee?
Absolutely, definitely. I think this could come up and really change a lot of people's ideas about things. I mean, if we get any evidence at all, it's just going to be fun to go out there and see what we can get. I just excited.
So am I. I really am committed to this. I think we're going to find something. I think we're going to get something this summer. So I'm really excited about it. And once again, I feel really bad that Todd can't be with us this time. But anyway, we'll do the introductions next time. All right, you guys. Well, once again, thank you for appearing on Encounters USA and participating in this project. I think that this is going to be a great thing, and I think it's going to be a wonderful learning experience for all of us.
Definitely.
And it's a great way to make friends. So what more can you ask for? Right. All right. Well, you guys, I'm going to close off here. And so for Encounters USA, if you're out with the UFO iTeam looking for aliens, or if you're out with a North American Dogman Project looking for the Dogman, remember, always watch your back. Thanks for listening to tonight's show. Please remember, if you've had an encounter, we want to hear about it. Go ahead and email us at encountersusa1@gmail.com or contact us at encountersusa.com, our website, and go to the contact form. All right, everybody. Until next time, be careful out there. And if you're out in the woods, watch your back.